This is the High School Football America podcast for July the 24th, 2019. I'm Jeff Fisher. Just getting back in from a trip down south here in Georgia to Savannah. We made several stops. We've got some new photos going up in the stadium project. We stopped at Henderson Stadium in Macon. We also stopped in Statesboro, Georgia, and a great look. Some great photos coming up later on, either tonight or tomorrow on Memorial Stadium in Savannah. It is Rewind Wednesday, and we are going to have the second part of our two-part series on the Ken Dabbs, Earl Campbell story. The Hall of Fame running back was recruited to the University of Texas by Coach Ken Dabbs. He was a great high school football coach. He also coached track and field. Very, very talented man who brought a lot of All-Americans to Austin. And yesterday, during the first part of this great little story here, that's also outlined in the book that I wrote that was released almost a year ago now, High School Football in Texas, Amazing Football Stories from the Greatest Players of Texas, that is available online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And yesterday we heard from Earl Campbell, the college football and pro football running back who made it to the Hall of Fame in both college and pro football. And today we're going to hear about Ken Dabbs' side of the story. This is a relationship that began back in the early 70s, and it exists to today. Earl Campbell loved talking about Coach Ken Dabbs, and well, Ken Dabbs loves talking about Earl Campbell. Here's that interview I did with Coach Dabbs for the book, High School Football in Texas, Amazing Football Stories from the Greatest Players of Texas.
You know, there's so much written about you. I mean, that's kind of where your legend began, I guess, or at least when it comes there. This is a goofy question before I go through it. It's not really a goofy question. You know how myths grow, and I'm going to give you an example of that. When I got to Raymond Berry, I got to him through a connection in Paris at the school, and she knew Gene Stalling, so that's why I got the Gene. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, there was that thing that Raymond was not very good. He didn't start till his senior year, but he was meticulous. He knew where every divot on the field. This is a myth that begins growing. And when I got to Coach Berry, I said, well, I've heard some of these stories, so now I want to check these out. And he just started chuckling, and he said, Jeff, none of, the thing about none of that is true. I didn't go out before the game and walk every inch of the field and all that. So that gets me to my question for you, which is all this stuff. I'm sure you read some of it. How much of it is true, and how much of it has just grown with the years going by? Is there a lot of myths? Is that a stupid question?
No, it's a good question.
So where's the fact and where's the fiction in any of the stories that you've read about Earl and how you recruited?
Well, the fact is, this is very difficult to say because not difficult, but the big thing is any time, and I think you know this, but any time you're going to recruit somebody of that magnitude, the very first thing you must do is sell yourself. The University of Texas, Southern Cal, the University of Oklahoma, Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, those schools are going to sell themselves. But when you are going into a situation where they've never had one exactly like you, and you must come to the conclusion who the decision maker is. Mm-hmm. And you must sell yourself to that decision maker. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely does.
And so it didn't take me long to see I got Ms. Campbell on my side in a hurry. Mm-hmm. I recruited her instead of him.
I have no doubt. And again, myth or truth, there was a statement, something written where you did a little something special with your name, and so she remembered it. Tell me about that. Is that true that all happened?
It was the first afternoon I drove up there. I was scared to death. I was 38 years old. Bill Yeoman had been there, Grant Taft had been there, Barry Switzer had been there, just pick you out somebody. And there I drove up in a Ford, 38 years old, and I walked up to the front door, and he had a sister named Evelyn. See, there was 11 Campbell kids. Evelyn was the second oldest daughter. There was William and Herbert, and then the one that passed away, and then Evelyn, and then Alfred Gray, and then Earl, and then Tim and Steve, and Margaret and Martha, and Ronnie. And so I drove up there, didn't know him from that open. I walked up there. Evelyn's at the door. Miss Campbell comes out. She says, "Oh, no, not another one. How am I going to remember all of you coaches' names?" And I looked at Evelyn and I said, "Well," I said, "Evelyn, you can look at my name. You can remember my name very easily. Brill Cream, a little dab will do you, put a B and an S on it, and you got it. Dabs." So I left. It stayed about an hour, and I left. The next morning, I got up and drove over to Shreveport, and I was coming back on some Monday. I said, "I'm going to stop by the house." Or Sunday afternoon, I'm going to stop by the house again. So I pulled up there on Lavender Road, got out, and knocked on the door, and Evelyn comes to the door, and she says, "Mama, Coach Brill Cream's here."
You can't make that up.
And if you ask me to this day why I told her that, I couldn't tell you. It just came to my mind. You know, the good Lord looks after those of us that don't have sense enough to look after ourselves.
Well, you know what they always say? It's listen long enough, the good Lord, if you're quiet, the good Lord will send you the message, right? You just got to be smart enough to shut up.
That's right. Shut up and listen.
And so you became very, very close with her. I heard that, you know, it went way beyond just getting him to Texas, that you actually had a pretty nice relationship. I know you would do with Earl to this day, but it was the same thing with Mom?
Well, let me just tell you this. I was 75. I'm 83 now.
Mm-hmm.
I was 75, and I had run into Earl and Rick Ingram. And Rick played guard at Texas. He played for me in high school, too, at Austin Westlake. And I ran into him at the University of Texas Club one afternoon, and they wanted to know how I was doing. And I said, "Well, I'm on my 21st day of prostate radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing better, but it's got a ways to go." So that night, we're sitting in here at the hill, right where I am now in my den, and my wife and I were watching TV. And we have it fixed where the TV numbers comes up on the screen, and this 903 number came up on the screen, and Marguerite said, "903? Who is that?" I said, if I didn't know better, I said, I'd think that was Earl Campbell's high school number. And so I just picked the phone up, and I said, "Hello." This voice on the phone, and she said, "Coach D, this is your 85-year-old girlfriend, Ann Campbell." Said, "I talked to Earl today, and he told me you was having some health issues. Just called to tell you you don't have anything to worry about, and you tell Miss Marguerite she don't have nothing to worry about for you, because I'm going to pray for you morning, noon, and night, and the good Lord going to look after you. I love both of you. Talk to you later."
Oh, wow.
True story.
I don't doubt it. That's a beautiful, beautiful story. That says a lot about the impression you made, and as Mr. Coach Brillcream, that's for sure. So I know you've probably been asked these questions a billion times, but I mean, how good was Earl specifically in high school? I just really want to focus on that part of the time.
I would make you this statement. This is what I have this is the conclusion I come to. he was the most dominant high school football player I have ever seen.
Nothing more needs to be said. No, I'm teasing. Keep going.
No, but a lot of people don't understand this. You know, his junior year, he was a linebacker, and he always he wanted to be just like played for Chicago, Ditka.
Ditka or Butkus?
Butkus, Dick Butkus.
Yeah, Dick Butkus. Okay.
And they got ready to play their last game, I believe. Now, see, this is before I got there, but Corky Nelson was a good friend of mine, his head coach. And Corky said, we lost our tailback, and we lost our tailback, and we were getting ready to go play Texarkana. So we just decided we'd give Earl a shot at tailback. Well, they did. And I'm not sure about the exact number, but it was some number. He made around 236 yards carrying the ball, and he never played defense again. that was the last game of his junior year. And I had never seen anybody that had he had the vision of the field, but he had the strength to run right over you. And he had. I saw him play Longview the first night I really ever watched him, and they ran a tailback sweep to the right side. He got hit 9 times on the right side and put a hand down, turned around, went back to his left, and scored, standing up. Well, see, now this is things people probably don't know. And I'll tell you, you use it the way you want to. But when he came here, his thighs were 28 1/2 inches. So we had to go, our equipment manager, we had to go buy a dozen pair of 40 pants in the waist and then take them up 4 inches. That's the only way he could get his thighs through them.
That makes sense. You got to get those are big.
Yeah, I mean, see, you know, he's just not like he's just not like the regular guy that weighed 210 pounds and had 22-inch thighs, 28.5-inch thighs. And people wonder where he got all his power.
And let me ask you,
it was like a steamroller.
I can imagine. And I was going to ask you this because it goes back to our other question about, his technique. I mean, take us through that pattern again. I mean, was his technique perfect, just like we were talking about before?
Sure. His toes were straight. Now, we had a 100-yard dash one day with Graydon White, Alfred Jackson, and one more at Earl when they were freshmen. And they were all faster than Earl in track. But when we put the pads on, Earl beat them all by a yard and 50 yards.
That's interesting. Very, very.
Because he could carry the pads. See, a lot of people, I think, sometimes, Jeff, don't really realize there's a difference in a guy running and then putting on the uniform and running.
Mm-hmm.
And Earl, I just never quite seen anybody like him. He was so dominant. That was it.
That is Coach Ken Dabbs. He is the man that recruited not only Earl Campbell, but a lot of All-Americans to the University of Texas. He is as real and as good and as sweet as they come. A guy that needs to be recognized, and I'm happy to call him my friend now, thanks to, as I did yesterday, Coach Mark Ball, a great high school football coach and administrator in the state of Texas, who introduced me to Coach Dabbs. And wow, haven't regretted 1 minute of it. So Coach Dabbs and Coach Ball, thank you. And I do owe you a steak. We're heading over there there to Texas before the season begins. Hey, tomorrow I'm going to be at Media Day in Gwinnett County. Several teams in Gwinnett County in High School Football America 100. So check out the videos that we're going to put up from Media Day. And oh, by the way, we're just finishing all of the videos from all 16 coaches in Fulton County in Atlanta and suburban Atlanta. So check them out at highschoolfootballamerica.com. For now, this is Jeff Fisher saying good night and good sports. You've been listening to the High School Football America podcast.